Good morning,
I'm trying
Susie.
to find a small piece. Okay,
I'll make you a plate and then you cover it.
all right. I guess that's as small as I can get.
Just a small.
That's something different.
I tell you what, we'll trade places.
We used to ask that question with chicken differently.
A video for her sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Because Carol couldn't be here, so.
Oh, is that her name too?
That's why I had to change my name, you know?
Hello.
Bobby. I met you once when you were here. Oh, no, you mean Carol? Oh, very good.
Audrey. I love Judy.
Oh, Audrey,
She's
yes.
amazing.
My name is Samson.
¿Y José?
Jose.
Ajá, muy bien.
I'm Susie, and this is Jim.
Hi, Jim, Susie. And that's our gang.
Thank you all for being here today and for your wonderful healing thoughts for Judy. This morning I was really missing her. Just waiting for her to come to the parking lot that she always does. And I was walking through the door and then Mike tells me, you know, I'm already missing her. And I thought, yeah, so am I. So am I. And I think of Judy, I think of the word gratitude. You know, she lived her life with a lot of gratitude in the work that she did, in her interest in the church, and how the church was doing, and how everyone, each individual in the church was doing. And she would ask me, how are you doing? How was work? And she was expressing her gratitude for just being together. In one service, I can remember clearly, indelibly etched in my memory, she was so grateful for the solo. I don't know if it was Walter's solo or somebody else's solo. It was so good, she started applauding. And she led the whole congregation to applause. And I thought, this is the first. I should have recorded this. But that was an expression of gratitude. And that's why our human hearts ache for her, to see her again, but we know that her true being is with God, spiritual and eternal. And she's just moving on in her eternal travels, like we all are. Mrs. Eddy wrote in Miscellany, where God is, we can meet. And where God is, we can never part. So very grateful to have called Judy my friend.
As a board member, when I think of Judy, I think of the term generosity. She was generous in her thought, which was often contrary to many of the members, and she got us to think about the more spiritual side of the board in this business. And as a dentist and Judy being a hygienist, I know her generosity in dealing with patients was a very good one. So, like Marlon said, she will be missed. She was a true Christian Scientist.
The thing I remember about Judy, we were in the same association, and the association, each class would each year order a huge bouquet of some sort for the association day, and we would have them all up in the front and around wherever we were meeting, independent. And so over the years, we ended up, since the association began in something like 1960, we began to have a lot of flowers. And they would always announce at the end of the day that if you wanted to choose flowers to take with you, because what are we going to do with all these flowers, Judy was right up there, right Johnny on the spot, and got the best selections. And then she would bring flowers for us for Sunday, because we generally had association on a Saturday. And I can always remember her just, boy, I tell you, she went through every one of those, you know, and got the best one. And we had lovely flowers every time.
There's so many things I admire about you down there, but from the time I met her, you're at church, being in a wheelchair, she's an amazing lady. She she would get to, there would be, I just remember occasionally when someone would have a doings after church or what have you, she would be there. But she would make sure, not me, others would make sure there was a way of her getting her wheelchair into the house. That was a big thing. But other than that, she was there for whatever, or lectures. She'd get out of her truck and just wheel on in, and I had the highest respect to this day that she is a person I knew did things and just didn't stop. So I'm grateful to have been a friend. She was great.
My name is Samson. Hello. I'm so very grateful for God putting Judy in my life experience. When I think about Judy, I really think about living every second, with joy and positivity, and obviously knowing that, God is our life. Being around Judy, it made me feel like everything was all okay, regardless of what was happening in my life. It's because of the aura that she exuded, which is, all joy. That's what I remember about her. And she had a pretty good sense of humor because, when I first met her, I really am pretty reserved, but I'll throw little quips to see if she can catch on. And she was a real sharp lady. She had a good sense of humor. So I'm very grateful for God for allowing Judy to be a part of my experience.
I just want to share something that our dear Phyllis sent to us about Judy. Yes, this is very sad news for our hearts to bear, and we will miss her. As you said so well, we know in our highest thoughts and prayers she lives on forever. She is right now becoming more aware of herself as God knows her, His beloved Judy. I am so grateful for my friendship with Judy. So lovingly, she made me feel at home in the little Chula Vista church family, inviting me to her home, where over the years we had visits, laughs, and time refreshing in her pool, and heartfelt talks as well. We had many lunches and outings together, but overall was her devotion to her church, where she was an astute and stalwart worker. I know that everyone at lovely Chula Vista Church is now gathering around one another with, yes, some tears, but also with tender embrace of Judy in their prayers. Prayers that it will uplift and joyously affirm life divine. O gentle presence, peace and joy and power of life divine that owns each waiting hour. Thou love that guards the nestling's faltering flight. Excerpt poem, Mother's Evening Prayer by Mary Baker Eddy. Blessings of goodwill and good cheer to each of you, ever thinking of our dear Chula Vista Church family with much love and gratitude. Phyllis Feldman.
Somehow I think most people, not all, but most people when they go to a church, where they sit the first time is where they go every time. And for some reason, where I'm sitting now in general is where I always used to sit. And Judy was usually left and forward of where I was. And I've known her for a very long time before she was in a wheelchair. And my wife and I would always greet her, and then one day she showed up in a wheelchair, and she continued to be in that chair for years. But when it was time for the hymns, she always struggled to her feet. And one day, I looked at my wife for some reason, and she had tears. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, Judy didn't stand up today. And ever since, I've always included her in my prayers. I miss her.
I knew Judy for a much shorter time than probably everybody here. Well, by the way, this is Walter.
Thank you.
And Carol, I'm the soloist here. But she was such a model of positivity and grace under what seemed obvious to me were difficult conditions in which she lived. And I admired that so much. And I appreciated the attention that she paid to the music and to the solos. And of course, I appreciated all of her encouragement. And I miss her.
She thought she could not contribute anymore, and she was telling me, I don't know if there's anything I can contribute to the board. And I told her, Judy, you have been a pillar to this church for many, many years, for decades. The board needs you. And so at one meeting, the board was talking about finances. And we were just, how do we get the finances this, finance that? And like Clay said, she always started from a spiritual standpoint. I remember her saying, are you starting from the idea of abundance or lack? And everybody kind of sat back and thought about that. Well, what she was saying is you got to start with God. Start with God. Don't look at what the mortal eyes see that we're lacking finances. And I think that's how she looked at her situation too. She always looked at her abundance, her true self. She always started with God, and regardless of the human condition. And she was always full of joy, always full of gratitude. That's how I'll remember her forever.
So to follow up on Marlon's comments about Judy, yes, she always started with the spiritual thought. But then later she'll ask me, Natalie, what else do we need? And she'll write me out a check. She'll write me out a check for things that we need, so I stopped telling her. I said, Judy, that's not what this is about. You're not on the board to do this. You're on the board to help us, just bring our thoughts higher. It's not about material things. But the way Judy was thinking was she just wanted to do things for the church. She loved the church family, she loved the church. So it was her way of giving. So yes, I did stop telling her what we needed because of that, to try to help her out. And, there was quite a while ago, I think it was when I first started coming to church in Marlin, Judy needed some help on something. And I had asked her what it was, and she said, okay, well, why don't we try to help you out and do this? She goes, that's silly. I come to church to help people out, not for people to help me. And I told Marlon, I said, is she serious? No, I just started coming here. And I said, is this how she or other members feel, that they can't come to us, to each other, for help? Whether it was for physical things or whether it's for prayers. Why does Judy think that way? And to be honest with you, what she did that day really inspired us on how to connect with everyone in our church family, which is why we now have these monthly gatherings. And honestly, Judy was so receptive to it. So I am grateful for her to be open enough to share that thought with me, because without that, it would be without this. So yes, I do miss Judy a lot. Thank you.
And my mom died in 1983, and my dad joined a thing called the Millionaires Club after getting in shape. He was in his early 50s, and Judy was about 8 or 9 years younger. And so when they got matched in this dating service, my dad wanted to make it really clear that he's handicapped. He had cerebral palsy. So first thing he said to her was, I just want you to know I'm handicapped. So Judy said to him, well, tell you what, I'll ignore your handicap if you ignore mine. And so I kind of knew it was a good match. And I was probably off traveling, I think, as I often do. And my dad proposed to her. And she said, I can't say yes until I get Carol's approval. So I remember meeting her in a restaurant in Mission Beach. I think it was already one of their favorites at that time. And I was in love with her from the first moment. And like you said, she wasn't in a wheelchair yet. She was using what she called her sticks, forehand crutches. And but I got to know her, and I found out that she'd been to like several South American countries, Australia, which I still haven't been to, Europe, and she used to own horses. She had a convertible Mustang. That's a car, not the horse, but it was red. And every once in a while, she would regret that she had sold that car, even though in her later years she couldn't have gotten in or out of it. But she did love that car. She used to ride a scooter when she first moved to Pacific Beach. I think her condo, I went once, she owned a condo. I think it was upstairs. And, you know, and at that time, I'm almost positive, in 1984, she was earning $200 a day as a dental hygienist. So I just thought, this person is someone that we would call handicapped, and yet she's accomplished so much more than able-bodied people, you know? So I really admired that I never got into her way, you know? She used to drive, she had her little Ford Contour and stuff. Then when she got her van, you know, nothing was gonna stop her. You know, she wanted to go somewhere, she went. And my dad, you know, was more stick in the mud towards the end. So she had to do a lot of things on her own, or she and I would go when I would come down. And also the fact that she had a pool put into our backyard. At first I resented it because I loved our backyard. You know, I have so many memories of slip and slide and volleyball and, you know, whatever we played back there, you know, duck, duck, goose. But the pool has been quite useful, I see. And then she was hesitant to get the lift put in because she said, oh, it's going to ruin the concrete to have this, you know, lift put in. It's going to put holes in the concrete. I was like, Judith, don't be silly. I mean, you like to swim, and if that makes it possible for you, then do it. And to see her in the pool was so inspiring because she looked like she could walk. You know, she kind of walked across the pool and walked back, and you know, that was a good way for her to get exercise because I'm someone who's very active, and I don't know how she sat in a chair all day long, you know? Like, she did really well considering. You know, I would have been twice the size and, you know, have butt sores and everything, but somehow she managed. And I adopted my daughter Maya in 1997. She was born here in Tijuana, and I brought her up. And Judith, from the very first moment, was the best grandmother my daughter ever could have had. And they had so much fun together. I have beautiful pictures of them making cookies in the kitchen and out in the pool together. And sometimes Judith would recognize that, you know, my dad and I were missing some alone time because I'm an only child, and I was always really close to him. So she would say, well, let me take Maya to the zoo or to SeaWorld. And off they would go, you know, in the van. And when Maya would get tired, she would hop on Grandma's lap and get a ride the rest of the way. And, you know, and it was really nice to have those moments with my dad again. But when people say to me, oh, you're so devoted to her, you know, as a stepmother, I always say, you know, beyond who she was with me, our relationship, I will always, always be indebted for the happiness she brought to my dad and the happiness she brought to my daughter. I mean, those two people were the most important in my life, and Judith made their lives better. So I really appreciate that.
Here's Tiffany, who can't speak, and Cesar, who's also without words, and Olympia, you gonna say something? You have so many good Judy stories.
I do. Her Zoom meeting that she would do, so we set it up. She still had strength for that. That was really nice.
Yo no conocía a Judy
He didn't know her long,
por el tiempo que algunos de ustedes lo
like some of you have.
conocieron, pero
Para mí sí fue una persona, se miraba muy conocedora de la ciencia.
To him, she seemed like a person who knew the scriptures very well,
Y muy paciente.
very patient.
Yo a veces me imaginaba cómo era posible que ella pues, tuviera ese deseo de venir a la iglesia cada 8 días.
Yeah, I wondered how she managed to get here every week
Pues viendo el estado en que ella estaba.
because of the state she was in.
Pero he platicado con Sam también y pues sabemos que esa fuerza viene solamente de Dios.
And he's spoken to Sam also, and he knows that this force, this energy comes straight from God.
Y pues quiero también dar las gracias a todos ustedes que me toleran
Thank you to everyone for including me
y por hacerme sentir como en familia.
and he feels like he's with family here.
Y pues le deseo lo mejor a Judy donde quiera que se encuentre.
And I wish the best for Judy wherever she is now.
Y pues que nos sigamos congregando y sigamos teniendo la misma amistad hasta hoy.
Yeah, so we keep meeting and we'll keep the same friendships we have now.
Gracias.
For the past several weeks or within that time frame, I just remember thinking so much of Judy, because there was a time when we had phone conversations. And, but anyhow, I've been thinking about her, and I should call her. I haven't talked to her in a long time. All this year stuff that goes on and on. And then when I got the email that she had passed on, I thought, damn, I really should have picked up that phone and just say hi, how are you, whatever. But to follow through on when we are having these thoughts about friends or whatever, just call or send an email and say, hey, I'm thinking of you, whatever it is, short or whatever, but don't let it go by. And so it's going to prompt me to feel more about that.
Thoughts from Science and Health and the writings of Mary Bakeretti, and I thought, I'd share these thoughts with her. And I knew she was at peace because she would come up with thoughts that she had from Scripture and from Science and Health, from different writings that would parallel what the thoughts I was sharing. And I thought, wow, her consciousness is really at peace. She knows more about her true self than what I'm sharing with her, because she knew she was at peace. And I'm so very grateful she allowed me to call her and share those thoughts, and she would also share her thoughts as well. So, and that gave me peace in my heart as well. So very grateful for her.